First Prize, welcome back to another week of Sunday School. Let's get started. Bienvenidos, welcome friend. Guten Tag, hola, means hello. Buongiorno, bonjour, ni hao, konnichiwa. Bienvenidos, welcome friend. Welcome to another week. This week we are talking about the lost lamb and that lost gold coin. Well, when you lose something, what does it take to find it, I wonder? Well, when you are trying to solve the mystery of where something went, you have to put on your detective hat. And so today, I'm going to need you to be detectives with me. We haven't lost anything, and this week it's going to be a little bit different because we're not singing like normal. But as my detectives, I have a musical mystery for you to solve. You're going to have to use your critical listening skills and figure out the answer to each of my questions so we can unravel our musical mystery. This is probably similar to how you find a lost item. You go back. You retrace your steps, just like how we'll hear our mystery example more than once. Kind of retrace those steps. You look for clues, which is what my questions are designed to help you notice clues towards my song. And in the end, all of those things together helps you find your lost item, just like you're going to help me find what exactly is this musical mystery we have on our hands. Step 1 is going to be listening to our mystery song. Let's give it a go. All right, there is the mystery song. My first question I need to know is, how many different instruments do you hear? Can you count all the instruments that you hear? Now, this can be a little difficult because we tend to get drawn to listening to one or maybe two. But what happens when there's more than that? Listen for the number of instruments. Here we go. When we listen for how many different instruments, we need to listen to how many different timbres do we hear. Timbres are the unique sound that each instrument makes. And if we can tell how many different timbres there are, we can tell how many different instruments are playing. How many instruments did you hear? The right answer is 3. There are 3 instruments playing. Don't tell me what they are yet, though. See if you could hear the timbre of each one and use the timbre to figure out, where have you heard that before? What instrument makes that sound? What instrument must be playing? They're all ones you've heard before, by the way. What instruments were you able to identify? Let's start with perhaps the most obvious one, going boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom, ba boom, ba boom, boom. What instrument was that? It was a hand drum. A hand drum is that big circular drum you play by hitting it with your hand. If you said drum, that's fine too, although there are so many different kinds of drums that make different timbres. That one was a hand drum. What were some of the other instruments you heard? You had this one on top. It was the highest instrument. It was a wind instrument. So it was played by sending wind through it. It makes kind of almost a whistly sound. But of course, it's not really a whistle because it's an instrument. Do you remember what instrument you've heard in some of your activities with me that make that sound? You might have also played this instrument at your school. It was the recorder. I have mine right here. Makes that high and kind of whistly sound, and you play it by sending air through this tube. All right, so we have a hand drum, we have a recorder, but there were three. What is that instrument in the middle? Let's listen to just part of it again. Refresh your memory. The instrument is playing chords, so it's playing multiple notes at a time that fit with the sound you hear in the recorder. That instrument is the piano, also called the keyboard, because that one happened to be an electric piano, which is called a keyboard more often than not. But if you said piano, you were right too, because they make the same sound. The electric keyboard is supposed to sound like the piano. It uses electricity to mimic the timbre. What does it mean to mimic? Well, mimicking is kind of like echoing or trying to replicate. If I said me, 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 and you said me, 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 and tried to sound exactly like me, you would be mimicking me. So that electric keyboard's supposed to sound like a real piano. All right, now we know that there are three instruments, and we know what three instruments those are. Which instrument, do I wonder, is playing the melody that you hear? Melody is a series of notes. It's the tune of the song. If I sang, Mary Had a Little Lamb, this is a melody. That would be the melody. So I'm wondering what instrument is playing the melody in our mystery example. Now that we know our three choices, it should be easier. You probably know the answer by now. You probably don't even have to listen to the second half. The instrument playing the melody was the recorder. The recorder was playing the melody in our example, while the piano was providing accompaniment, which is a fancy music word for support. It's when the piano isn't playing the melody, but it's playing something that goes along with it and supports the melody. It holds it up so that the melody isn't just out in the air all by itself. When melodies have accompaniment, they tend to sound nicer. So the piano was providing accompaniment, and so was the drum, but it wasn't providing melodic or harmonic accompaniment, which has to do with notes. It was adding rhythmic accompaniment. Because drums don't play notes. They can only play rhythms, or at least a hand drum can. Some percussion instruments do have notes, but that's a lesson for another day. I have one last question for you. Now that you've heard it several times, you know what instruments are playing, and you have identified that the recorder is playing the melody. What song is it? Now, this is a question that you might have known right off the bat. As soon as you heard it, you might have said, oh, I know what that song is. And others of you might not. It is a difficult skill to develop if you haven't done so before. We're going to listen to the whole thing one last time. Try to figure out what song you've heard many times before, you've heard at First Pres, and you've heard in videos with me, that have the same melody as what the recorder is playing. It's especially difficult because you don't have any words to go off of, but I know you can do it. All right, here we go. All right, what familiar song is our mystery example? I hope you figured it out by now. I'm going to isolate that melody for you just in case. That is it, just down the octave from what you were just hearing. That just means a little bit lower. If I add words to it, Amazing grace, how sweet the sound. We were listening to a version of Amazing Grace with recorder, piano, and hand drum. Our mystery is solved. Very good listening skills. Go on to the next video for a game you can play with your family. It's a singing game about a lost item. And for our closing song, I hope you have a great week. Bye!